Well, here we are, everybody. If you want to see me cover a live version of this, I'm putting it up on Patreon for free. I never charge on my Patreon anyway, so. Anyway, this is the debut song of GFriend. We're doing Glass Bead. We're starting a whole new week. Very excited for this. I've been kind of wanting to do this group for a while, and it feels like there's a lot of lore between now and then and everything that's happened with the group and everything. So yeah, I'm actually pretty excited to get to know this group, and I hope you are too. My name is Aaron. If you're new here, I try to help you love the music that you already like. I can get a little bit wordy sometimes, but let's check out GFriend and see what they have waiting for us. Very in harmony. Very interesting. Busted. Great ad-lib. Very fun. You know, honestly, like, I think whenever we listen to anything from GFriend, this is not the most blind I've gone into a group. There's been a couple songs that we've had on the channel already. And weirdly enough, we actually did an album review. Anyway, I feel like that this is the song, or this is the sound that I immediately associate with them. So it's probably because I listened to mostly this era, I guess. But I feel like the interesting thing is about this is that This song to me sounds like the start of the concept of the song, or of the sound specifically, which kind of makes sense because this is the beginning. But I find it interesting because the fact is that we do have a bit of a basic plan. And I think that it actually ends up being a pretty solid start. I think that this song is I feel like a solid piece. And it kind of has that synthesizer feel to it. I have to admit, my very first thought when I heard like the very beginning part here, there's that synthesizer that comes in right there. For some reason, it reminds me a little bit of Animal Crossing. And it's kind of interesting because this kind of does still give me a little bit of like anime opening intro feel, vibes. And, I think that they did that pretty well. It's that synthesizer mixing with the guitar and mixing with the strings, as they play kind of more with like the violin and things like that. It's a very solid, I would say, balance. There is definitely a little bit more of a basic feel than that of like Navillera or Navillera, and a couple of the other songs that we've heard too that kind of use the same principle, but this obviously probably them being younger and less experienced, it's a little bit more toned back. It kind of gives its room to breathe and to space out a little bit. I do think that the choreography in this is actually pretty interesting. Definitely more of a formation. I don't feel like that I've ever ran into a girl group that does much in shape, in terms of like formation dance or dancing in general. It's almost always a formation dance, but or a set piece, but I don't feel like there's a whole lot of shape choreography. And this kind of is still there too, right? Like this is definitely more of a formation dance. I think that the vocals on this are actually pretty solid, I think. They have all very similar tones, so it kind of creates that resonance, and that really helps that out too. But I think even the ad-libs that we're getting here is fairly solid, honestly. There we are. Yeah, this is a very good start to the concept. I really like that. I feel like that the song itself that they've chosen to debut with is a solid song. Yeah, and I feel like that they are able to handle it pretty well. Very cool, very cool. I feel like that this is definitely the beginning of that concept and sound, and it's paid off. I think it paid off pretty well. So anyway, moving on. And now we are moving on to Me Gustas Tu. Very interesting. Yeah, let's check it out, shall we? I do want to say really quick, it's interesting because, like, there's been some groups that I've gone really blind into, and some groups that I've gone in with a little bit more knowledge, and this kind of sits in between those two. Like, I've heard like 3 or 4 of their songs, but and I did do an album review actually, interestingly enough. But I feel like this is a good actual like diving into. I can finally focus on their music. So interesting. Kind of an interesting thought. Okay. has good flow. Pretty good vocalist here. Interesting. Gotta give it its time. Okay. You know, interestingly enough, I had this thought come to mind. One thing that I have to say that this kind of highlights for me is you see a new girl group nowadays. And, I mean, you can bring up a few of them. And it feels like now there is a certain level of seriousness and maturity, even when a group debuts. And in a sense, I'm one of these people. And I'm going to be real with you. I'm one of these people that I feel extremely bad when I feel like that people cannot just be kids. Like, if kids can't be kids, if teenagers can't just be kids. Because, you know, you're still young, and you still should be able to have that feeling of being able to enjoy the youth without the problems of so much of the world. And obviously, things change, and that's not ever always the case for everybody, or even really anybody anymore. But when I listen to this song, and I think to myself, wow, this is like a kind of a bit of a teeny bop. And I mean, that's something that kind of used to really exist. And I just remember, this is a little bit of a tangent, when a little while ago, and somebody was talking about how, like, a lot of here in the United States anyway, a lot of the stores that were just kind of geared towards teenagers is gone. And it's because, like, a lot of times now it just goes from kids straight to, like, buying stuff at Ulta and Sephora and, you know, working at, well, I mean, it's very much just immediately adult. It goes from kid to adult. And there's not really a lot of time for, like, whimsical levity for, you know, teenagers to be able to be teenagers. That's kind of basically what I'm trying to say here. And this song kind of reminds me of that, because, like, we've had quite a few groups on the channel that are, you know, that we've seen debuts for, and, you know, off channel too. Like, I'll give a couple out, like Ive or Nmix and stuff like that. And immediately, I don't get this, like, childlike innocence that, you know, GFriend is kind of enjoying here. And I feel like sometimes that's too bad, because that's a fun time in life, and I don't feel like that it should be something that should be lost. So that's, like, my first initial thoughts that kind of came to my mind, is I miss the fact that, you know, kids can be kids. if that makes sense. But let's talk about the song. Like, weirdly enough, this song here, despite everything and anything, is a very solid song. It's got a lot of synth, it's very synth pop. I feel like too, on top of it all, that there's a lot of, the song actually just has a lot of, I'm trying to put it into words. It's got a lot of hooks. A lot of hooks, lots of melody. The strings, and that, to me, like, that is actually like one of the signature styling that I immediately associate with GFriend, is like this kind of off, it's not the popular sound in a lot of ways, because it's like there's some guitar work, there's the strings that really kind of coincide with the synthesizer and the sounds that they're singing, and they just pair it up with a very well balanced song of just like having a lot of melody and making it interesting. This, in a lot of ways, feels already like a big step forward from Glass Bead. And then I find it interesting because you get all that, but I feel like that, especially kind of once we get past this part here, once we hit about the 3-minute mark, things really end up picking up a lot for this song as well. Lots of guitar dives and stuff like that. Interestingly enough, that's actually, if you have a whammy bar, those are fun to do. I like that. Again, I like that. It gives it that personality. So anyway, very cool song. I really think that this has been the strongest showing of the two songs thus far, for sure. And to end off with, on day one, Navillera. We have heard this song, but also I've kind of tried to make sure that I've put this stuff out of my mind as much as possible to make it as blind as possible. So let's recheck this on out. Is that synthesizer? They already sound way more confident. Way more energy. Those strings are doing good work. Nice shift. Okay. Interesting. Definitely energy brought up. The strings add a, you know, it's kind of interesting because the song's a little bit, it's faster paced. There's a little bit more intensity behind the energy. It's kind of just really putting all your energy in up front. And using the strings to kind of counterbalance that to give it that delicate feel that I have kind of associated with this particular era of GFriend with. It's a very good balance. It's just that counterbalance. It's a counterweight. It feels like to me every song that we've had today has just been kind of a building on of the previous song's concept in a lot of senses, especially in terms of sound. This is why sometimes I feel like that it's not always the best thing to just immediately dump a concept, because listening to Glass Bead, then Me Gustas Tu, and then this, it just feels like such a natural progression and like it feels like that it's really tightening down the details that kind of work with this particular concept. And, whether you as a person like this concept, this sound or not, is totally devoid of whether or not if that concept has, I feel like, evolved and tightened down those details and really given it that identity that you would expect to hear from music like this. That to me is actually very interesting, because to me, like, I feel like that this has been so well fleshed out as a sound that as time goes on, I feel like I'm drawing myself closer to actually really preferring a sound like this in a lot of ways. It's very good. I feel like that this has been a very interesting take. I guess there is something to be said for doing the, in chronological order, as much as sometimes I prefer the just random chaoticness of what, you're kind of tending to get when you just listen to songs randomly. But I will say this has been very good, and maybe for GFriend, this is what it needs to be, rather than just jumping around. We're going through it, chronologically. It has really helped maybe how I feel about this. So very good, very cool first day. Let me know what you all think about this, and we have a lot to discuss, and I'm going to be in the comments much more this week. So let me know what you all think. We'll discuss this down in the comments below. Thank you. Goodbye.